Elio guys, and welcome back to another episode of Infinite Magicraid. In today's video, we're going to be looking at our baby girl called Elaina, who I do not have, so she's hanging out here in the gallery here, and she is a legendary. She's also a supporter and part of the Light Mark gang, which, spoiler alert, I'm not sure if she's going to be super helpful for the Tower of Mark, but I could be wrong. But let's go ahead and figure that out together with her whole entire review here. So let's take a look at these skills first. So with her basic attack called Arbitrament, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, it deals 200% defense damage to a single enemy and transfers all self-attribute debuffs to them. This also reduces the target's defense by 30% for 2 turns if no debuffs are transferred, and with this skill fully bugged up, it goes up to 280% defense damage, which is pretty standard for a legendary. She did recently get a buff, which is why I'm covering her here, and I think that's nice that they added in that defense decrease if there's no debuffs on the enemy here. But the main selling point of this skill is that if you have debuffs on her, she can give those debuffs to someone else. So if you're using her, especially in a PvP situation and it's manual, that could be very important for you. But in terms of giving it up to the AI, well, that's on you. Her second skill though, called Shield of Evil, has a 5-turn cooldown, unbooked, and this move right here deals 120% defense damage to all enemies and removes all of their attribute buffs. So stuff that raises up their attack, their defense, their speed, etc., those all get stripped, which I think is very great. But with this skill fully bucked up, it goes up to, 180% defense damage, which is an AoE, so that's fair, and it gets reduced to 4 turns. Very high cooldown up there. I understand why, but once again, a very high cooldown up there, so potential yikers right there. And then for her third skill, which is also a passive skill, is Light of Order. This reduces the crit damage taken by all allies by 12% when Elaina survives. So as long as she's alive, she's reducing crit damage taken by the squad. I'm down with that. With that fully booked up though, that is a whopping 20% crit damage reduction, which is cool, but that's all that it does. 20%, don't get me wrong, is still chunky, but you're still taking into account that they already have that crit damage being applied to them. I feel like 20% just isn't enough to warrant as a passive skill in itself right here. And then for her ultimate called Shield of Good, which you guys know is really good if you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. But anyways, it has a 5-turn cooldown unbooked, and then its description says that it cleanses all attribute debuffs of all allies and restores HP by 8% of max HP to all allies as well. And with this skill fully booked up, we get a lovely 6% increase, bringing it up to a awkward 14% of max HP to all allies. It then also gets reduced to 4 turns. So here's the thing. We have my boy Magus over here, who does the same thing with his attribute debuffs. Obviously, you have to have his exclusive weapon added to him, I believe at level 3 to get that effect here. But this baby girl has that right off, right off the cuff, which I think is good. But once again, overall, just super underwhelming because she should strip all debuffs, not just attribute debuffs. So there's literally a very niche use for this already, because if I'm fighting units that don't really use attribute debuffs, literally why would I bring her? There's literally no point whatsoever to bring her. But before I start hating on her more, let's take a look at these exclusive weapons called Good and Evil. So at level 1, it additionally grants resistance debuff to all allies for 1 turn when you cast her ultimate. Okay. At level 2, additionally reduces the target's turn meter by 12% when actively casting Shield of Evil. So Shield of Good is her ultimate, and this is the second skill, right? Shield of Evil. So that reduces their turn meter by some. I mean, okay, but we're already 2 extra pulls in of Elaina, and she's finally getting okay-ish. At level 3, whenever all enemies get a total of 10 attribute buffs among them, Elaina will additionally cast Shield of Evil once before the turn starts. Whenever all allies get a total of 10 attribute debuffs among them, Elaina will additionally cast Shield of Good once before the turn starts, and each skill has a 3-turn cooldown. And then at level 4 and 5, there's also a speed increase, which a base speed of 110 is pretty chunky. I will definitely say that she is very closer to the fast category versus average, but overall still average here. To go ahead and end this right here, I don't think a preview is just warranted at all. Main selling point of Elaina is that she's supposed to be able to kind of strip the enemies of debuffs, but she can only do attribute debuffs. So once again, if you're not fighting enemies that take advantage of boosting up attack like Eden or boosting up speed, etc., then she's useless. So if you're fighting targets like, what's his name, Oakman, where he has just a slew of different dots up there, if you're fighting Anna, who has burn, if you're fighting, what is it, Hisanja, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, who has HP burning, these moves literally do nothing at all. So while she did get tweaked, I think she just needs a little bit more work to be where she's at, because if you pull her at this point in time, I don't really recommend investing into her, because outside of PvP, I can't really see many situations where she would be useful. Obviously, there may be certain very niche situations where she's going to be recommended for a player to use, but at the end of the day, the orange just isn't worth the squeeze here. But thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.